Welcome back to the Cancer Raven. An inspirational moment. It's my mum's birthday, or it would have been if she was still alive, bless her. I would like to do a video to mention the carers, the family members, the friends, the relatives, the loved ones, the children, the partners, everybody who's involved when someone has cancer. I was talking about wanting to create a community around cancer for people with cancer. People should not feel alone. But I also thought afterwards, you know what, it's not just for the people who have the cancer, it's the knock-on effect. It's for the carers too, the family members, etc., as I mentioned. I lost both my parents to cancer. Like I said, my dad, February 1998, my mum, March 2011. My dad had bone cancer, my mum had pancreatic cancer. My mum, if she was still alive, she would have been 98 today, which is an incredible age. Sadly, she made it to 83. And I didn't make it back for the last few months of her life. She lived in England. That's where I'm from originally. I live now in Australia. My sister did an incredible job of looking after our mum for the last few months. I wanted to get back. There were various reasons I couldn't. I'm not going to go into that here. It was a long time ago. I'd been living in England with my wife and daughter. We left in October 2010. Not long after that, my mum was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. It was at a stage where they pretty much said it was incurable. She was going to die. And she didn't fight that. That was her choice. My sister looked after her. Mum died at home in her own bed, which is fantastic. If you can call dying fantastic, it's just almost a stupid thing to say, isn't it? She died in her own bed, fantastic, yeah, but she still died. Doesn't matter where you die. If you've been through that journey, you will know what that feels like. You will know what it's like to be a carer. You will also know, if you have cancer, what it's like to be looked after by people who care about you, who love you, who don't want you to die. I've been on both sides of the coin. I am in a position, I'm not going to say lucky, people do. I'm not really into that word. I use it, we all use it because we just say it. But I'm here, and it took a lot of bloody hard work by myself, by my family, by friends, by doctors, hematologists, specialists, radiologists, people who have microbiology degrees and chemistry degrees who specialise in cancer, people I've talked to, worked with, my naturopath who was medically trained, worked in the hospital system, who was himself a chemo nurse, all these people who somewhere along the line do something to help you. I had a therapist too. She was brilliant. I still see her occasionally. All these things help. Everything helps. Anything anybody does that gets you closer to being in full remission is helping you. Now, some people, obviously, I know for a fact, say my hematologist, as we call them in Australia, I've mentioned this before, oncologist for different types of cancer, blood cancer, that's what I've got, hematologist. Obviously, she's got to have a level of detachment, because she has to, because she sees people every day. And if you got emotionally involved with every single patient, I just don't know how you could do it. I couldn't. I was hard enough being emotionally involved with my dad and then my mum, you know, and I have friends who've lost people, who've lost relatives to cancer. You know, it's so, it messes with your head. It drains all your energy. It destroys some people. It destroys some families. You know, it doesn't destroy all, but it destroys some. My family has been brilliant. I can't say fairer than that. You know, it hasn't destroyed us, but it was bloody hard work for them, almost as much as it was for me. Yes, I'm the one with cancer. I'm the one who was going to die. I'm the one who had to do the chemo. I'm the one who had to have all the needles, all the meds, take all the pills, have everything shoved in my veins. Everything I've done, yeah, that's. I'm not going to go into that here. That's above and beyond. And if you've been through it, you'll know that. But it's hard for the carers too. So I want this channel to be about them as well. You know, I mentioned in the last video about building a community. People can talk. Um, you know, comment. Please do comment below. But like I said in the last one, have a bit of common sense. Have a bit of compassion with what you say. It is important because people read these comments, and some people who read them may have just lost a loved one, maybe dying of cancer. Think before you write. Don't be an idiot. I'm in the car again. I don't think this will be a habit. Not every video is going to be in the car. He's in the car again. Not quite as scenic as the last surroundings. I'm in the car park this time. Back to carers. Carers, family, everything. Like I said, I wasn't there for my mum. That was hard. There'll be people who can't get back to loved ones who have cancer and don't get back in time before they die. When I finally got the chance to get on an aeroplane and go back, it was too late. I'd already said goodbye to her on the phone. My sister rang up and said, Mum's going, she's slipping away, she's going. And I got on the phone. I spoke to my mum literally as she was dying. That was super hard. If you've ever sat with a loved one when they've passed away, then you're an amazing person, because it is the hardest thing you're going to do. Whether it's your mum, your brother, your sister, God forbid your child, you know, friends, other relatives, sitting with someone you so deeply care about and you're saying goodbye as they're dying is that's bloody hard. It's bloody hard. I wasn't there to hold my dad's hand when he passed, but I was back in England back in '98. I had helped nurse him. My stepmom and my brother has a different mum to me and my sister. He's younger than us. I think he was nearly 14, and he was in the hospice with his mum and our dad, holding our dad's hand as our dad passed away. I can't imagine that as a nearly 14-year-old. These things are hard for a person who has cancer, because you know the devastation it's going to leave. I knew the devastation it would leave for my daughter, for my wife, and that's why I put everything into trying to live. And I am one of those people that so far, touch wood, I'm still here. But everyone is not that fortunate. Not everyone is that fortunate. So I think it is so important to recognise carers. It is so important to recognise family, partners, wives, husbands, mums, dads, the kids, everything. You know, people lose people they love, and that's after they've cared for them and watched them go downhill. I did it with my dad. I got a phone call. I was living in Brisbane at the time. I just split up with my partner. She decided she preferred someone else. Don't need to go into that. This was in 1997. I got a phone call from my dad. I was actually in a house. In our house, there was a bit of I won't say a party, but there was a gathering going on. Phone rings. I get brought a phone. Oh, it's your dad. All right, I'll go talk to dad. And he just said, son, you need to come back. You have to come back. And I knew exactly why. And I knew why. Because I knew he was going to die. He'd had the cancer. When they diagnosed him with the bone cancer, I think they gave him just over 2 years to live. And this was he'd probably about a year and a half into it. Back then, end of the 90s, I don't even know what treatments they had for bone cancer. It was in his shoulder. He didn't want to do chemo. He'd made that clear. He said, I just want to live out my days. So he did. So I went back. I remember getting picked up, not by him, because he couldn't really drive anymore because his arm was so buggered. Getting back to the house and being told by my stepmom, being warned and telling me he's lost a lot of weight, and it's noticeable. I got to the front door. He came to the front door, and he was a shadow of his former self. That was hard. And over the next few months, I helped nurse him. I watched him go downhill. I watched him going from being able to be in a car to being bedridden. I watched him on morphine. I watched him sit in a chair on morphine, zombified in front of the TV. I watched him with a shunt in his hand here that would automatically push morphine into him. When he ended up bedridden, I put him in the shower. I showered him. I washed him. Put him back into bed. I remember when they got in a special bed for him, I remember picking him up in my arms like he was a kid. He was that light, and putting him in my bed so they could put a special bed in for him and then carrying him back. I can still remember all of that, and that was back in 97/98, and then he passed away on my sister's birthday. If you believe that. Well done, Dad. Good timing. We were out, me, Mum, my sister, just walking around a wildlife kind of bird sanctuary place in the south of England. Pretty morbid, really, because we knew what was coming. He was in hospice by this point, and I was later on that day, I got a phone call. Your dad's passed away. Happy birthday, sister. Dad's died on your birthday. That's another story. I mean, you can kind of smile about these things all these years later, but you don't at the time. This is what carers do. This is what families do. This is what they go through. So, I say to people, if you know someone with cancer, don't ghost them, don't ignore them, don't, because you can't deal with something in your life. How the hell do you think they're dealing actually having the disease? And the other thing I would say is, think about the carers too. Have you got a friend who's caring for a parent, who's caring for a child? And that I cannot imagine. I cannot imagine my child getting a cancer diagnosis. To say you have sympathy with people is such an understatement. I cannot even possibly begin to imagine what that would be like. It's hard enough having my own cancer. It's hard enough losing my parents to cancer. To have a child with cancer, I can't imagine that. And if you have a child with cancer, I am so sorry. So let's spare a thought for those people, the carers, the loved ones. They need to be included in these conversations. because they're the ones who get left, and they're the ones who have to pick up the pieces, if that is at all possible for some people. So this video really is a shout out to the carers. You are amazing people. My wife, my daughter, my family, everyone, you are amazing people. Everyone out there who's watching this and you're caring for someone with cancer, you are an amazing person. You know, let's spare a thought for them. It's important. So this community, let's include everyone. Everyone is part of this. It is cancer's F. I said that. I can't use the F word, but I'll say F. Cancer is F. So just spare a thought. Spare a thought for the carers, for the families. Spare a thought. So I'm going to call it a day there. Big love to all of you out there. Big love to the people with cancer. Big love to their families. Big love to their carers. You are all amazing. You're all doing amazingly well. Keep going. Like, comment, subscribe. That all helps get this to more people. You don't know, even if just one person watches something like this and it helps them with something, then it's served its purpose. So please, thank you. Like, comment, subscribe. See you next time at the Cancer Raven. Big love, John. Take care, people. Look after each other.